The Elves of Eberron are defined by their long lives, but more than anything, what makes them unique is their inability to let the past die.
The Elves of Eberron are very much tied to their long lifespans and basically to their ancestors. They do different forms of ancestor worship because they don't want to let go. So you have a very martial elven society that's all about sort of reenacting the deeds of ancient heroes. And then you have the Irene who literally preserve their ancestors as what are called deathless, these sort of positive energy undead. And their nation is ruled by this council of, elves that are tens of thousands of years old. And again, all of it fits with what elves are. It's just a different way of looking at them than the sort of traditional model.
Are there other races that you've taken a spin on with Eberron?
So the elves are from an island called Eberron, and it's a sort of small continent off of Corvair. And for the most part, the elves are very they're isolationists, and they're very much bound by tradition. The idea is that they really they've got things right, they're happy with where they're at, and they're all about just perfecting and getting things exactly the way they've been done. Sort of what we're saying is like the elven wizard. There's always been that sort of mystery of why is an elven wizard 120 years old starting out when a human wizard is 30? Is the elf just really stupid? And what we're saying is actually how that's explained in Eberron is that the elf actually spends a lot longer working on the same things, not because he has to. He could have learned it in 20 years if he learned what you learned, but he's going to spend 5 years just perfecting the pronunciation of his incantations to be just like this, the first guy who ever made that spell. Whereas the human's just like, oh, I don't know, I'm just winging it. And so again, this is part of the idea of saying that elven culture is overall more advanced than human culture, but it moves very slowly. Whereas over the course of the last 3,000 years, humanity has is moving much faster and is catching up. So most of the time, the Erenal elves just aren't interested in what's going on in Corvair. They are ruled by the Undying Court, this collection of, again, their ancient ancestors, and that's actually a divine power source for them. So like their clerics actually are drawing power from their ancestors. And again, it sort of comes to, they're not really interested in the outside world. They have everything they need right there. Now, so Irene elves who leave, are very much sort of, in a sense, almost outsiders. Why did you come to this primitive little backwater when, you're, again, from a culture much more advanced than them? The Valinor elves are the ones I've mentioned that they try to reenact the deeds of their heroic ancestors. They believe the spirits of their ancestors live on through them. So it's saying that if my ancestor was Genghis Khan, it's my job to be as much like him as I can. And so they have come to the continent during the war and basically as mercenaries. They were hired in large numbers as mercenaries and at a certain point said, we're just going to keep this land that we're sitting on because it was ours 10,000 years ago and we're taking it back now. And so they've seized a kingdom, and that again is one of these points of tension, is people aren't sure how to deal with them. There's not a lot of them, but they're sort of pound to pound the best, the most dangerous warriors on Corvair. And it's this big question of, is someone going to try and drive them out, or do we just accept this? But as a Valinor elf, you are driven again to reenact the deeds of your ancestor, to be as much like them. If your ancestor was a great hero, you need to go out there and find great deeds to do. If they were a legendary rogue, again, you need to pull off some kind of amazing crimes or something because you want to be as much like them as possible. So it's very much this idea that the elves are driven by their history and by, both the ancestors who still guide them in the case of the Irene and by the ancestors that you're seeking to emulate as one of the Valinor.
You can purchase the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron right now on dndbeyond.com by clicking on the link in this video description. I'm Todd Kenrick. Thank you for watching.